Hi, welcome to Denver Online High School's virtual information session. I'm Casey Sintek, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist here at Denver Online High School. And welcome, thanks for joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and tell you a little bit more about our school and what makes Denver Online High School unique. All right. So from the beginning here, we'll start with kind of general information about the school. But first of all, we are part of the Denver Public School District, and we are currently rated as a green school. So we are meeting expectations, which is really good for the DPS alternative framework. So we are in student achievement, we're exceeding expectations. In post-secondary readiness, we're exceeding expectations. And in student engagement and satisfaction, we're meeting expectations. So there's a lot of things to consider in an online school, but being a green rated school is actually really, really good. And we have both online and blended learning courses available. So Denver Online actually started as primarily just an online school. However, we have worked to incorporate these things called connection days and other different social events and things like that to become more of a blended learning environment for some students, because we felt that some of the students were online school has a tendency to be a little bit isolating. And so as we morphed into being more of a blended learning environment, we incorporated opportunities for our students to feel more connected, engaged with their teachers, and things like that. And so all of our courses are recognized by both in-state and out-of-state universities. And all of our courses are taught by real teachers, meaning that behind every single course, there is a real teacher where a student can always go and get help, ask for questions. They can come and meet face-to-face with that teacher or talk to them via Zoom, like what this kind of looks like right now. And they can always text, call, email, lots of different ways to get involved with that teacher. Also, every class is teacher and student driven. The content is teacher and student driven, meaning that if a student ever needs anything more personalized, there's a teacher there that can kind of create that content around that specific student's needs and desires. Also, all of our credits are accepted by the NCAA, so that's really important for any of our athletes out there. There's actually a lot of different guidelines for credits being and courses being accepted by the NCAA, but all of our courses have been are accepted by the NCAA, so meaning that they are interactive, there's a teacher, there's a peer interaction, that kind of thing, and they are rigorous, and that interactive piece was really important to being NCAA certified. And then finally, student requirements. Basically, any student is welcome to come to Denver Online High School, except that they need to have Colorado residency. We have students that are located all over the globe currently, but as long as they can maintain that Colorado residency, they're good to go. And they also can't yet be 21 years of age at the start of the school year. And as a very strong suggestion, we suggest that every student come with their own computer and internet at their house. And so they can always come into Smedley Learning Center and work from here in our labs on our computers. But obviously works a lot easier if a student can work from their home or from wherever else they would like to work with their own laptop and internet. And then these are some of the courses. So online and blended learning options. So we have a couple different opportunities for students. So most of the courses are going to be online in Schoology, which is our learning management system. And what's great about those courses is that they're available 24/7, meaning that students have the opportunity to work at 3 a.m., they can work at 12 p.m., they can work on the weekends, they can work through winter break if they're behind, that kind of thing. And so students can always work in their courses no matter what time of day, and even if there's breaks and that kind of thing. Classes will use video conferencing, kind of like what we're doing right now with Zoom, where the students can see each other, they can see their teacher, that kind of thing. They can share the screen. And so some of the courses will implement these live video conferencing sessions. So maybe around a discussion or surrounding a book, or we also use them regularly for tutoring. So if a student ever needs math help or something like that, they can meet with their teacher or professor via Zoom, and there's a virtual whiteboard and that kind of thing where they can work through a problem right then and there, basically kind of face-to-face, only virtually. And the classes also use discussion boards and online modules. Students are able to work at their own pace, meaning if a student is super great at English and they can just fly through it, they can do that. But maybe math takes a little bit longer for them, and so they can take a little bit longer, take breaks as they need, that kind of thing to get through those courses. And the attendance for each of our courses looks a little bit different than it might in a traditional high school. Attendance for us is the ability to complete a week's worth of work every week. And so as long as a student is turning in a week's worth of work every week, they will get full attendance points for that week. Now, for every assignment, every quiz, every project, they all have a due date attached to them. But mainly those are to keep a student with in line with pacing. So a student can always turn in assignments after that due date, but they might just be marked down attendance points if they weren't completing a week's worth of work that week. But they can always turn in those assignments after the due date should they need to. They can also always turn them in before the due date. A lot of our teachers will give extra credit for students turning those assignments in on or before the due date. And so it's kind of just an incentive and pacing thing for those due dates. And so basically attendance in general is based on students actually completing and turning in work. They don't get attendance necessarily just for showing up in a classroom like they might in a traditional school. We have to base attendance off of their ability to actually turn in those assignments and that kind of thing within their courses. And then also, instead of just having online courses available, we also have brought in these outside workshops that happen at Smedley Learning Center. And so we brought those in because we thought that some students, would benefit from having that face-to-face interaction and more of like hands-on learning opportunities. So these workshops primarily happen at Smedley Learning Center during our Connection Days, and we'll talk a little bit more about Connection Days in a little bit. But there's everything from create your own business workshop, which is we bring in an local entrepreneur to teach that, to 3D video game design. Art from Ashes is great because if students are interested at all in poetry, it's just a big poetry workshop and they get to share their poetry, and it's really awesome. Lighthouse Writers Workshop is a creative writing workshop where a published author actually comes in and teaches that course. Drawing on Air is basically like art and poetry combined. We have yoga, so we all get out our yoga mats once a week and do some yoga. And then also we have a lot of students that are super interested in art. And so we've tried to create opportunities for them to get credit for submitting art. So our art teacher actually works with the Denver Art Society, and so every year we have we have 2 different art shows for our students to participate in, where their artwork actually goes up in the Denver Art Society, and they get to share it with the community. So they can get credit for that as well. And then for other credit earning opportunities, one of the biggest things that I always try to make sure that our families know about is our Concurrent Enrollment program. And what that is it allows our students to go to basically any community college that they'd like to in Colorado. And whatever classes they take there, they get both college credit and high school credit for that course. And we pay the tuition for them to take that course. And so it is really awesome because they can get a whole bunch of college credit done by the time they graduate from high school. And one other awesome thing with that is that we now have an exclusive relationship with CSU Global. And so students can now take concurrent enrollment college classes online, again, for free. So that is really exciting too. And then, if you can get 12 college credits by the end of your senior year through that concurrent enrollment program, then students are actually eligible to apply for the College First program. And what that is it allows students to go an entire extra year directly after they graduate high school, completely tuition-free to whatever community college they'd like. Now, if they would like to go to a university in Colorado, they can do that. Basically, what happens is they will pay, College First program will pay the community college rate, and then the family would pay the difference for that. So either way you look at it, it is a really, really great deal, and a lot of our students will graduate with a ton of college credits, and some of them will graduate high school with their associate's degree in college, and next year actually we'll have our first ever high school graduate who will also graduate with his bachelor's degree in college. So it is crazy what you can do if you just start early enough and are ambitious enough with that. And then outside of concurrent enrollment, we also have some other opportunities for students to earn credit. And so one of those is work study. So if a student is working and getting paid, they can get credit for that. Service learning credit would be if a student is volunteering somewhere, they're not necessarily getting paid, they can get credit for that. And then independent study would be basically if a student was interested in anything else that we're not really offering, and if they wanted to learn about something, or they wanted to, take a, workshop somewhere else or something like that, basically anything outside of what we don't offer, we can kind of create an independent study class around that so that they can get credit. So some of our students have extreme passions that we're not necessarily catering to in our traditional classes. And so we try to make sure that they can earn independent study credit for pursuing those other passions of theirs. And then this is our Learning Center. This is Smedley Learning Center, and it's one of the most historic buildings in DPS. And we also have a satellite site at Thomas Jefferson. So our counselors are there at TJ on Mondays and Tuesdays, should that facility be closer to you. But here at Smedley Learning Center, we have multiple labs where our students can work on computers Monday through Friday. And we always have faculty and teachers here to help them. And so every teacher has their scheduled office hours. And so students can always come in during those scheduled office hours, or they can make an appointment with their teacher as well to come and help them with anything that they're needing. And so a lot of our students will come in on a fairly regular basis here to work from our school building. And then this is our faculty at a glance. And I always tell people that it's not a huge faculty, but it is a faculty that really, really cares about our students. And we try really hard to get to know them and to make sure that they have a very personalized education that matches what they want to do and where they want to go. And then a little bit about our enrollment process. So there's a couple different types of enrollment, but the first and primary one is full-time enrollment. And basically what that means is that Denver Online High School would be the student's primary high school that they're attending. And for that, the admission is completely free, and there's no cost to the families at all. But for some families, they want to do either part-time or supplemental enrollment. And so what that is part-time would be basically if a student was taking about half their course load at another high school and then half of their course load here at Denver Online High School. That would probably classify as part-time enrollment. Supplemental is usually when a student has like 1 or 2 classes at Denver Online, and then the rest of their course load is at a different high school. And for that, it's $200 a course, and which is pretty much still a huge steal in the scheme of things. So We also do have a summer school program, however, and it is free. However, we only run that for students who are currently our full-time students. And so that's the only students that we will support during our summer school program. And then for enrollment times, technically we enroll 4 times a year, so on the quarter. However, I say that cautiously because truly we pretty much enroll 2 times a year on the semester. And so this time of year, but between now and August is one of our biggest enrollment times, where we bring in the most amount of students for the next and upcoming school year. And then we roll into second quarter, and we only bring in a very, very small handful of students on second quarter, if any, just as spaces open up and on very unique circumstances. And then second semester, with our new student orientation beginning in January, we'll bring in another pretty large group of students. And then fourth quarter, which new student orientation will begin in March. Again, we will only bring in a very, very small handful of students, if any, due to openings, but primarily just if it's a very unique case. And we don't like to enroll on the second quarter, fourth quarter, simply because enrolling students halfway through the semester tends to set them up for some obstacles, and it just doesn't necessarily, it's not super helpful for the student to start midway through that semester. And then summer school begins in June for all of our full-time Denver Online High School students who wish to take our summer school program. For part-time and supplemental enrollment, that looks a little bit differently, and we enroll only twice a year, so on the semester. And then summer school for our part-time and supplementals, we don't actually offer summer school for our for students that are just part-time or supplemental, only for those students that were full-time. And then to apply, so if you check out our website, this is a snapshot of our website. If you go to online.dpsk12.org, you will find our website. And off of our website, you will just click that yellow apply button on the left-hand side of the page. And that will bring you to a thing called the student interest application. And what that is it's just a quick survey about general information about the student. Once the student completes that, then somebody will contact the family and schedule a student enrollment meeting for the family to come in and meet with our principal or one of our guidance counselors here at the school. And once that happens, the family will come into Smedley Learning Center and meet with one of our faculty members, and they'll have a discussion. And basically, it's a great time for families to ask any questions they have, or and just learn more about the program, as they'll bring you through exactly what the program looks like, the expectations, all of that. And so from there, most of our students will go through a 2-week test drive course. And our test drive course is not hard at all, but we are just looking for the student's ability to comply, to follow through, to communicate, that kind of thing on our end. And then it also gives the student an opportunity to take a look at the online program and see if it actually is something that they are truly interested in and they like. Because, you know, online school is a little bit different than traditional brick and mortar schools. And so this gives them a quick opportunity to kind of see that online platform to see if they'll like it. And then finally, if everything goes good and they make it through the 2-week test drive course, then they will be welcome to new student orientation, which is a 3-day orientation where all of our new students will come into the physical school building and meet with each other, meet their teachers, learn how to navigate the online programs, make sure that their computers are all up to date, and just know exactly what's expected of them within each of their courses, how to find help should they need it, all of that. So we just want to make sure that our students are set up for success when they leave our building. We want to make sure that they get a very good start to their online education, and that they feel equipped and ready to rock when they leave here, when they go home. And then also with that, we do have a new parent orientation every quarter. And for that, every parent actually is set up with their own parent account that is attached to their student's account. And so what's great about that, so that parent orientation, we take you through how to use your parent account, and we also, talk to you about all these multiple opportunities for your students and you to get involved in our school community, or with extra credit earning opportunities and just a lot of things like that. But when inside of your parent account, it is great because you can know exactly when a student has turned in an assignment, what their assignment that they turned in looks like, if this assignment has been graded, how many points they got on that assignment, if a teacher has written any notes for that assignment. You can see all of that. You can see when every assignment is due, everything. And so it's great as a parent because you just, I think, way more so than a traditional high school, you know exactly how your student is doing, and what they're learning, and how they're applying that knowledge to their coursework. And so it's a really great thing to be able to have a parent account attached to your student. And then for part-time or supplemental enrollment, to apply, it looks a little bit differently. So either students can go and fill out that student interest application off our website, or they can go simply and have their current school counselor, whatever school they're currently at, email our school counselor, Casey Burton, and this needed information. So as you can see on the screen, they'll need to send their student name, DPS ID number, phone number, student email, parent email, courses, which all the courses that they would like to take, if they have an IEP, and who the payer is. So sometimes the students or the family pays the tuition, so that $200 per course, and sometimes the other school will pay that course. So it's just kind of working with that with the school, and then the preferred end date of those courses. And so if you're looking at part-time or supplemental, just have that counselor work with our counselor to kind of create that student schedule. All right, now how online education and blended learning works. So we use 3 different tools primarily at Denver Online High School. So the first one is Schoology, which is our learning management system. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. The second is Zoom. So what we're basically doing right now, this is a recorded version, but this is kind of what it would look like, but where you can meet virtually with with peers and teachers and that kind of thing, and then those live class discussions as well as tutoring sessions. And then finally, our third academic tool is our Learning Center here at Smedley Learning Center. And we'll kind of talk you through each of those. So this is kind of what Schoology looks like at a snapshot. So this right here, the main picture here, is the home screen of Schoology. And you'll see under the courses, you see Martha's Playground. So that would be a course. So you'd click in that course, and within that course, you would see different weeks folders. So every week within the semester will have a folder attached to it. So a student would just simply click in that folder and it would bring them into all of the assignments, quizzes, projects, everything that's due that week. And so as long as the student is keeping up with that week's folder, then they're good to go. And you can see on the left, you can see the grades and attendance. So all of the grades are uploaded every week. You can see a calendar of upcoming events and assignments due. So within the Schoology calendar, you can see all of these school events that are happening at Denver Online High School. So everything from new student orientation to graduation to dances to field trips, that kind of thing. But then also you can see all of the assignments that are due for each of the courses too. So like I said previously, every assignment has a scheduled due date attached to it. Now a student can always turn in that assignment after the due date, but for helping with pacing and just organization of time, they all have those due dates, and so those will be on the calendar as well. And then you can always check out the messages on the right-hand side of the page. So if a student ever has a question about an assignment or anything like that, they can always just message a teacher through Schoology, and that will go directly to the teacher. And they can also message each other should they need to correspond. And you can also see like recently graded work and that kind of thing on the right-hand side of the page as well. So lots of different things that are happening in Schoology, but it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use. And within each of the courses, it just kind of depends on what the course looks like, or what the course is, but some of the courses will implement different YouTube videos, discussion boards like this picture on the bottom left here. They try to make them very interactive and interesting. And one thing that's great about Schoology is that honestly, it was a lot more work for our faculty and teachers to create Schoology courses because they really had to drive the content, but it is so much better than a lot of the other learning management systems because it can be really rigorous and it can also be very personalized to the student. And so we actually used to use a program called Odysseyware, and what we didn't like about Odysseyware is that students could just basically kind of click through. They could Google old answers and that kind of thing, and just autofill the Odysseyware, and it just wasn't great. It was a canned curriculum. And so we transitioned to using all of Schoology for all of our courses, and it really has limited our students' ability to just click through and breeze through a course. Like, they actually have to engage in that course, and the learning is much stronger now. And with that, if a student ever if they are really struggling in a certain area, a teacher can go in there into that Schoology course specific to that student and manipulate that content to help the student in a certain area, maybe add a few more problems in a certain area, or if a student was super behind or something like that, a teacher can go in there and say, okay, maybe if you just do this one big project, then we will, I will make you do, this quiz or something like that. So they can kind of just really cater to each of the students to make sure that they have a quality education that is just really meeting the needs of that particular student and their circumstances at the time. And then Zoom, we've kind of talked about Zoom already, but we use this for those live class session times and tutoring, and we also use it for things like the collaborative school committee meetings and that kind of thing. So we love Zoom because it allows us to meet with people without having to be in the same exact room. And so it really saves on transportation time and all of that. So it's an efficient way to talk and collaborate. And then finally, we talked about our third learning tool was Smedley Learning Center. So the biggest thing that we have brought in, and one of the best things we have ever done at our school, is bring in these things called Connection Days. And what Connection Days are is it's a focus on supporting the whole child, meaning that prior to bringing in Connection Days, we were struggling to find that sense of community with our students. Our students really didn't know each other. They may or may not know their teachers really well, and they just weren't really connecting with these outside these extracurricular activities and that kind of thing. And so there was just this this feeling of a type of isolation, or just not a connectedness. And so with Connection Days, that's totally transformed and changed our entire environment here at Denver Online High School. So with that, our 9th and 10th graders come in once a week on Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And our 11th and 12th graders come in, it's usually twice monthly, so every other Friday, to our school building. And during these days, there's a lot that happens, but Those days will consist of all of the students meeting with their homeroom teacher first off in their homeroom group. And usually they do a small little just fun activity to kind of kick off the day. And from there, they'll be able to work on their coursework and get help from their teacher, so they need to have some extra help. And then from there, there's just a series of blocks of time. So within each block of time, there's different choices for a student to choose from. And so that's where we have those in-person workshops that they can choose from. Like there might be a 3D video game design workshop happening in one classroom, while in another classroom, there might be a science lab taking place. And so a student can choose which one they want to go to, and they get academic credit for attending those different workshop times. And so so I use the example of the science lab because sometimes science sometimes can be a pain on an online environment when it comes to the lab times. Sometimes it's more helpful to have, a student actually interacting with those materials and seeing that really in person. And so during connection days, a lot of times we will have these science lab experiments where students can do the science lab experiment during the connection day, and then they'll get credit for it instead of having to do it in the virtual lab online in their courses. And so it's a nice way to just get credit for these hands-on activities. Also, during these connection days, we have things like service learning activities. For example, this picture on the top right-hand corner is at Children's Hospital Colorado. And so we actually have been running for the last, I think, 4 years, a service learning program with Children's Hospital Colorado, where our students will divide up into groups and in teams during connection days, and they will actually go through and fill out a mock grant application and develop a detailed budget and logistics plan, and then eventually lead out their projects with Children's Hospital Colorado. And so usually they'll lead activities within the main lobby for the inpatients and outpatients and families there, or sometimes they will create gifts and stuff to give to the inpatients at the hospital, but lots of different fun things happening there. And then outside of service learning activities, they would do college and career readiness activities. For example, this picture on the bottom right-hand corner is from a college application day for our seniors. And so for that, we brought in a large group of different college representatives, and they came to our school building during connection days, and they met with the students, and the students were able to fill out their college applications right then and there, and their application fees were waived for the day. So that was really cool as well. And then during connection days, we also have like fun things such as clubs. So that middle picture there is from our drama club, and they had their first ever musical just recently, and it was a lot of fun. So our clubs are thriving and they're doing really well, but we have everything from National Honor Society to drama club to a book club to a gaming club, lots of different clubs to choose from. And so those happen usually during connection days as well. And then traits of a successful online student. So one of my favorite things that I get to do at Denver Online High School is do our student highlights. And I get to highlight the very unique stories of each of our students. Our motto here at Denver Online High School is to do more, meaning that we believe that the online education and its flexibility allows our students to do more than they might be able to do at a traditional high school. And so as you come into Denver Online, you'll really start to understand what that really looks like. So we have students who are dancers, who are ballet dancers, who are traveling to Russia and they're practicing all the time, every day. We have students who are in bands who are traveling. We have students playing competitive soccer and hockey. We have students who are working or interning or volunteering different places during the day. We have students who are traveling with their families or doing internships or things abroad. We also have students that we think that are able to do more at Denver Online High School than they would at a traditional high school, simply because they might be battling with health complications or social anxiety. And so that flexibility of being able to stay home sometimes and then come in for connection days, you know, when they can, or if it feels right, you know, those students are able to continue to stay in school even despite some of those obstacles that they're battling with. And so there's a lot of really cool stories at Denver Online, and lucky for us, all of our students are super unique and super interesting. And then we just kind of like to highlight this, but all of our students who are living that do more motto, so Denver Online do more motto, are really thriving in the online and blended learning environment. So a lot of those students are super busy, honestly. They're trying to juggle multiple things. And so some people would look at that and say, well, how do they, you know, how's their attendance? How are their grades? Are they really getting their courses done? Sure they are. It's a little bit different for them, but busy students make for really good students sometimes. So our busiest students actually have a 25% higher attendance rate than a more traditional student. They're actually 8 credits ahead, and they have a 33% higher GPA on average. So some of our busiest students, some of them who are traveling and competing and, you know, doing all of these things, extra things, they actually are completely thriving in this environment. So that's where I think our school fits best into students' lives, is in those students who are living that do more motto. And then into our 6 pillars of success. So as you come to Denver Online, you will hear these 6 pillars an awful lot, but that's because they are really, really important to the success of our students. And so first of all, our first pillar is attend. And so what that means is that we simply need our students to show up by turning in coursework every day or every week, and really attending in that way. And so since our attendance is based on their students' ability to complete work, that's how we show attendance. And it's also attending those connection days, should you be required to come to connection days, showing up for tutoring sessions if you said that you're going to be there, all those different types of things. So attend. The second one is communicate. So we have a 24-hour rule here at Denver Online High School, meaning that if a student asks us a question, one of our teachers a question, we should be able to respond within 24 business hours. Because we really want to make sure that that communication flow is consistent and efficient. We don't want to have our students asking questions and then a week later we get back to them. That's just not fair, and that's not how we run here. But on the flip side, we do ask that if we communicate with the student, they should be able to also get back to us within 24 hours. This communication piece is so important at our school because we don't get to see our students every single day. They don't come in and sit in our classroom every day. And so we want to make sure that we're constantly communicating with that student and making sure that they're on track and they're doing good and that they don't need any help, or if they do, that we're answering those questions in an efficient manner. The third one is compliance and follow through. And that primarily relates to the fact that we have to still adhere to all of the district and state testing. And so we do ask that a student complies with that and that the families help them get the student here to the building to complete that testing, because we do have to be, we do have to make sure that we adhere to those rules. The next one is academic skill, and basically that's just saying being committed to being a learner. We know that all of our students come in with really unique traits. Some students are really good in some areas and then they struggle in other areas, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that the students are committed to learning and committed to growing. And then the next one, and probably one of the biggest ones, is self-advocacy. So self-advocacy is so important at Denver Online High School because, again, we don't always get to see the student in front of us. We don't get to see the pained expressions that they have if they're struggling through a math problem. We only get to see the other end where they're not turning in that assignment. And so it's so important for a student to be their best self-advocate. So if they have any problems that they run into, that they're communicating with their teachers or with the faculty to make sure that we're helping you overcome those obstacles. One of the best qualities, probably most annoying qualities with Denver Online High School is we were probably over communicators. So meaning that if a student is behind, we communicate a lot with the student, with the family. You know, if we're seeing just differences like, hey, you're really just, we haven't seen you, you know, turn in any assignments for the last couple days. What's going on? We will communicate that. We definitely don't leave families in the dark. But you know, instead of us hassling you guys about that, self-advocacy is huge, just to try to overcome those obstacles before they even really become an obstacle. And also with that, it's if a student really wants to pursue something that we don't have right now, we want to help you guys do that. And so, for example, we had a student that came to us and they wanted to take Chinese. We don't offer Chinese right now. And so we found a different avenue for them to take that course through a different medium. And they got to take that course. We paid for that course, but they took all their other courses at Denver Online High School. And so our principal was more than happy to assist that family in pursuing that goal of theirs. And so that wouldn't have happened if the student or the family wasn't being an advocate. So just know that there are people here on your team, but we just need to know what your goals are and where you want to head. And then finally, resiliency. Like I said previously, if a student is behind or they're struggling and we can kind of feel it on our end, we will definitely communicate with the family, with the student, with the parents. But mainly, we want to make sure that a student knows that we are never mad. If they're behind, we are never angry. We're never upset with them. We just want to help them get back on track. And so resiliency is huge because, online education, it's different than a traditional school. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's hard to catch on to, especially in the beginning, and learning those time management skills, it's hard, especially as a high school student. And so just being resilient and knowing that even if you get behind, it's okay. You might have a lot of teachers that are trying to track you down and make sure you're okay, but it's okay. And we just want to help you get back on track and so to where that you can earn that credit and move forward and eventually graduate high school to make all of your dreams and goals happen. And then finally, why Denver Online High School? So I always start out by bragging about our faculty because I think that is what sets us apart from all other schools, honestly, is our faculty. And so our counselor actually got Counselor of the Year, and our math teacher got Teacher of the Year by the Colorado Department of Education for blended and online learning schools. And so that's a really big deal. And anybody that has ever met Counselor Casey Burton absolutely adores him and loves him, and he's hilarious, and you guys will totally dig him, and he's super helpful for getting students where they need to go. But I also think that I always brag on Mr. Palomino, who is our math teacher, because math is really hard, and it's even harder in an online environment. So having a good math teacher on board is super, super important. And one of the best qualities about Mr. Palomino is that he is literally always available. We have had students who are on completely different time zones on the other side of the world, and he will make sure that he makes time to meet with those students. So whether that's at 4 a.m., he will be there, or if that's 12 at night, he will be there. And so we always kind of joke, but if a student ever says to their parent that they couldn't get a hold of Mr. Palomino, they were probably lying. And then down here on the right-hand side, that's one of our English teachers, Mrs. Glenn, and she is phenomenal, and she is always one of the teachers that students say that is their favorite teacher. but she is great because she brings in this sense of community, and that's huge, especially for an online or a primarily online high school. But DPS recognized her for creating that community by bringing in these outside organizations to build that community development piece. So she's the one that primarily leads Art from Ashes, which is that poetry workshop, Lighthouse Writers Workshop, where the published author comes in and works with students. But she's always developing new ways for our students to get really truly engaged with their community and in opportunities that really matter to them. And then finally, the picture on the top right-hand corner is of our principal, Mr. Ian Jones, and he is awesome. He was recognized by Denver Public School District for living our DPS core values of collaboration. And one of his best qualities is his ability to truly bring in the student's perspective, the parents' perspective, and outside organizations to build the strongest school community that we can. And we're always trying to grow and transform our program in ways that really enhance that collaboration piece, so that truly all of our different stakeholders are getting heard, and that we are creating opportunities for those stakeholders to really get involved and to thrive in our school. So we have a pretty cool staff, and I think that you will agree once you come to Denver Online that the faculty really cares and goes above and beyond to truly help students. And then next, Denver Online is just personal and fun. So I think online schools have a lot of people think of them as, not being very connected, being maybe a little bit isolating, that kind of thing. But we are here to break that mold, and we've tried really hard to make sure that community is at the heart of what Denver Online looks like. So we have dances. We had our prom just a few weeks ago. We have a winter holiday party. We have a very personalized graduation where every student who walks across that stage gets talked about their accomplishments and where they're heading. We have a student store. We are on social media like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and we have little fun competitions on those things to get involved. We also have monthly spirit days. So on the right-hand side, you can see that was one of our camo days. So one of the students let Mr. Jones dress up in her camo Snuggie. So he's looking fine in that. Not. But we also have, so those are just fun days to just mix it up and have some fun and that kind of thing. There's prizes involved with that. We also have monthly free field trips. And so I get grants to cover these field trips where students, our transportation is provided. So buses will take students from Smedley Learning Center to wherever we're going that day. And so that's all covered. And then also admission is covered to wherever we go. And so so those are really fun ways to just get involved and get to know people. So like this middle picture is at the Rockies Weather and Science Day, and then there's a Rockies game to follow. So that's always all at Coors Field. And then this picture at the bottom was at Anderson Farms, where the students got to go through the corn maze and get some pumpkins and that kind of thing. So that was fun. But we go to museums and colleges and lots of different places throughout the year. We also have school clubs. So I talked about the drama club, but we have a whole bunch of different clubs, and students are always more than welcome to create a new club. So if they want to, start something that we don't have already, great, let's do it. We also have service learning things that we do. So this picture on the bottom left is we actually went and made Valentines and handed them out at a local nursing home. And we also have talent contests and musicals. We have a back to school barbecue every year. So this picture up here on the right top right, is Casey Burton and Nan Jones cooking up some burgers for the day. So that's always a super fun event. We also have this thing called the Winter Holiday Party. And so this picture on the top right-hand corner is special because this year we incorporated a silent auction, which was also kind of a virtual auction as well. So both people that came to the Winter Holiday Party as well as people who aren't able to make it to the physical building for that party could bid on these items, but all of the money that was raised through the silent auction actually went back to 5 of our most in-need families at Denver Online High School to purchase items that they needed and asked for their family for the holiday season. And so I bring this up because I think a lot of times people think that online schools, how could you really know your students? Like you don't hardly even see them. And I guess I would just say that that's just not true. We try really hard to make sure that our students feel known and that we are making sure that they feel valued and that they feel cared about. And so this was one way that we could give back to some families in our school community in ways that were special to them. And then this was a picture, this bottom right-hand picture was of one of our parents, and she created this beautiful basket for one of the silent auction items. And so anyway, so this is just a long-winded way of saying that we try really hard to make sure that our students have lots of opportunities, have fun, but feel connected to each other and to our school staff and to their community. And then extra support for academic success. So outside of those online classes and connection days and things like that, we also have our biggest event of the year is called Planning for Success, which is a big college and career readiness activity. And what happens during that day is we bring in a motivational speaker to kick off the event, just to make sure that our students are dreaming big and just excited about the day. And then from there, we go into a series of breakout workshops. And those workshops are everything from filling out the FAFSA to finding other different scholarship opportunities to figuring out the right fit college to getting involved with different internships, to seeing if you want to serve abroad after school, if you want to, there's entrepreneurial workshops, if you want to start a business, if you want to go into the military, there's workshops for that. So lots of different workshops that happen throughout that day, and students and parents get to choose which ones they go to throughout the day. And then after those breakout workshops happen, the day concludes with a big college fair. So I think last year we had about 16 colleges represented from around Colorado. And so that was a great opportunity for our students and families to talk with all of those different college reps and see what colleges might be a good fit. And then during that day, we also give out 2 different scholarships to students, and we also give out a whole bunch of different just fun prizes that are like gift cards and that kind of thing to local businesses, and just to create incentive for coming and actively participating in the workshops. And then families also get fed breakfast and lunch for that event as well. So it's a really, really great day, and it's been a super powerful event for our school. And then next we have those student orientations and parent orientations, and those are just to make sure that our families really get off to a solid start at Denver Online, that they know our faculty, they know opportunities that are available, they know how to navigate the program, ask for help should they need to, all of those good things. We really, really value those orientations and make sure that our students are set up for success. And finally, all of our students are paired with an advisor. And so our advisor is just basically their best cheerleader, and then also just another level of support for every student. So should they ever need help, should they need to change their course schedule or anything like that, they can always go to their advisor and sit down with them and really work through whatever they need. All right. So that is all. And should you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to us. But thanks so much for joining, and hopefully we'll see you at Denver Online High School. Bye.